Okay, the guys that didn't participate: A.J. Dillon, Rudy Ford, Elton Jenkins, Isaiah McDuffie, Preston Smith. Limited: Aaron Jones, Luke Musgrave, Jonathan Owens, Jaden Reed, T.J. Slayton, and Christian Watson.
Is it realistic for for Luke to go on Sunday?
We'll see. I'd say it's realistic, yes.
Okay.
Where's Preston at? Because he returned to the game Sunday night, right? So just kind of just let him rest it during the week.
Yeah, he's another guy. He's been, I would say, the model of reliability throughout the course of his career. So anytime he's not out there, it's real. So we'll see. Obviously, we're hopeful for him, but we just got a couple more days.
Yeah, with Elton, he's been taking the Wednesdays off pretty regularly, I believe. I assume that was because the knee is the ankle now. What's kind of keeping him out?
Yep.
What's the level of concern there?
Again, anytime a guy doesn't practice 2 days in a row, then I'd say there's a concern.
Going back to Preston Smith, what do you make of that? 9 years, 1 game missed. How does a guy do that?
Obviously, he knows how to take care of himself and be a pro, but I think, some guys are just built to withstand, and I think he's one of those guys. And, he's been, and quite frankly, he's tough. Like, he'll be able to fight through a lot of things. So, again, that gives us reason for optimism for this weekend.
When you get these guys back who've been gone for a month or whatever, like Musgrave, like Watson, Aaron Jones was out for a while. Do you have to sort of not get your expectations up too high when you're game planning for them, knowing that, they haven't played in a month, but you probably want to use them?
Sure, I think you absolutely, it's a fine line, right? How much are you going to put in for them? Or are they just going to be, certainly you're going to have plays that are targeted to that position. It's just who's in that position, But those guys, just what they bring would definitely give us a boost.
Is there a tendency like, I got Christian Watson back, I can play him 80 snaps, or I want to play him 80 snaps?
No, I think you have realistic expectations.
With Watson, he was just starting to get rolling for you. Is it possible to kind of pick up where they left off after missing so many games? You're talking about him and Jordan, the connection they had built there.
Yeah, I think he's got enough game experience that he absolutely could. It's just, how many opportunities will he get, and how many plays will he play? And so I think that all that kind of factors into it.
Where's Devondre at right now? Obviously, he's not on the injury report, which is a good thing, but it just in terms of his body and how he's feeling.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a lot healthier than he has been, and having some time off, I think, was good for him, just to help rejuvenate his body and be as fresh as you can be. Nobody's completely fresh at this time of the year, especially he's played a lot of snaps over the course of his career, but certainly this year as well. And but he's he looks good.
What could that do for you, having him play, especially against a quarterback like Fields, where you got to keep him contained, and his running ability, having those two guys together, which hasn't obviously always been the case this year?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good combination right there. Having those two guys, they've played beside each other quite a bit, and certainly always want those guys out there.
I think it was just over a year ago that Bo signed with you guys at the end of last season. Just what have you learned about him, just his approach, just kind of the type of guy that he is during that time?
Well, he brings so much great energy to the room, to practice every day, whether he is on the show team, whether he's working with the first team offense. He's just always pushing people to be better, and that including himself. So he gives great looks. I think, we've mentioned it before, just the level of excitement that guys had for him, celebrating his success for what he's been able to do the last couple weeks. And he's I would say, well-respected and well-liked member of our football team.
Did you see something there when he was on the practice squad that was translatable? Because I think when you are the practice squad call-up, you might not get the attention from the opposing DBs that once you put a game like that out on film. Like, how much of his skill and what he's done is transferable to long-term?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, he's got a tremendous talent in the fact that he is really fast, and obviously you can't coach that, but you know, it's just good to see somebody go out there, do it in practice, and then get opportunities and it translate over to the game. That's what we're always trying to do, is take your indie to team, your team to the game day, and he's been able to do that, and but it's a credit to all the work he's put in.
After the Vikings game, Quay Walker says he thinks about Week 18 from last season almost every other day. How much has he grown since that second ejection almost a year ago?
Well, I think you saw it the other day in the Carolina game when, there was a personal foul that somebody hit him and he didn't respond. I mean, that's growth. So never mind the fact that he may or may not have hit the runner out of bounds. That tends to happen sometimes. And but I think just in terms of not retaliating, that's something that we've talked long and hard about. It's something that, we had a conversation after the fact. I said, hey, I'm really proud of you for not retaliating in that situation. And that's a credit to him, his mindset, because it's tough, I think, on these guys. You want them to go out there and play very physical and to just kind of shut that switch off. But it was cool to see him to be able to do that in that situation.
Hey Matt, I asked you after the game about the rhythm that you and Jordan are in, play caller to quarterback, and you mentioned the Pittsburgh game, and then you mentioned it again yesterday. I'm just curious, that was after you said that he needed to let it rip and stop thinking so much. Did you feel like as a play caller, if I'm going to ask him to let it rip, maybe I need to let it rip a little bit too? Is that fair, that maybe you decide to be a little less cautious or conservative, or am I completely wrong?
No, I think there was a point in time where you realize if we're going to generate explosives, you better call the plays that can generate explosives. And but I think and we were having some success with that. And certainly I think when you do that and you start trusting everybody a little bit more, so it makes it a lot easier to call. But I guess in that end, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong in thinking that way.
I'm just wondering because you want to protect your young guys, right? You want to put them in position. It's your job to put them in position to succeed. But did you think that, all right, I can be conservative and try and protect them, but at some point I got to take, for lack of a better term, the training wheels off? Or I'm just wondering what your thought process was.
Well, I just think, every game's a little bit different in terms of how you attack and what plays you're calling, because some games you're going to try to, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, so to speak, where teams aren't going to give up those explosion plays, and you just got to try to find completions. And other games where you're just going to call some of those deeper developing concepts that may be a little bit more risky in terms of, obviously, the deeper the concept, the longer you got to hold up in protection. So it's never about just necessarily one position. I'd say it's all encompassing, from your offensive lineman to what routes you're asking your receivers and tight ends to run, to how much pressure is the defense bringing, and then ultimately it comes down to the quarterback and his ability to go out there no matter what is called and execute the play. But I think we've had some success with some of that stuff that we've been doing that may be a little bit longer developing and being able to push the ball down the field a little bit more. But I think you almost have to earn the right to do that, because if you do it, if you're constantly putting the ball down the field, then most likely defenses are going to adjust to that and play kind of top down and a softer defense. And so I think you have to earn the right to be able to do that. And it's not always through the pass game. Sometimes you got to turn around and hand it to your backs to draw people closer to the line of scrimmage. So I think there's definitely a lot of different layers to that question.
Two more, please. for this team to be playing in a game where they control their own destiny, for as young as you guys are, can it do something for the long term of their, as your guys' development as a team, if they see a game like this and play it with playoff implications on the line?
Yeah, I think every game is a learning experience for these guys, and never want to make one big other than the next. I mean, this is the next game, and quite frankly, I feel like we've kind of put ourselves in this position in terms of had our backs against the wall the last couple games, knowing what's at stake, and we were able to climb out of that. And so I'm excited for our guys to go out and to be in our home stadium with that playoff type vibe around it.
You guys have run the ball really well the last couple of weeks. Their run defense is really good. On the other hand, what do you see from that perspective?
Yeah, they're just really stout. They're very sound. They do a great job just controlling gaps, loading the box, and mixing coverage. So I think just when you look at their defense as a whole, there's really no weakness in terms of their ability to go out there and tackle. Their corners are very physical. I think a lot of times when you look at good tackling teams, you expect it from the front seven, and we know how good those backers are inside. But their back end is a bunch of very good tacklers, and I think that just makes it that much harder to run the football. Certainly they're stout inside, do a great job. Like I said, good scheme, good players, and we'll have our work cut out for us.
Have they been blitzing more than they did when you first faced them earlier in the year?
I'd say percentage, yeah. We didn't get a whole bunch of pressure, I believe, the first time we played them. I wouldn't say just in comparison to some teams we played, they don't blitz nearly as much as some of the other teams, but they do a good job. They do a great job of having those timely pressures and making you earn everything you get. This is one of the best, especially you look over the course of the last 6 weeks or whatever it is, it's one of the best defenses in the league.